Though, my father said, if our politicians hadn't spent so much money on building an atomic bomb, we might have had enough for schools. We drove out of the bazaar, past the grinning red-mouthed signs for dentists, the carts stacked with wooden cages, crammed with beady-eyed white chickens with scarlet beaks, and jewelry stores with windows full of gold wedding bangles. The last few shops, as we headed north out of Mingora, were wooden shacks that seemed to lean on each other, in front of which were piles of reconditioned tires for the bad roads ahead. Then we were on the main road built by the last Wally, which follows the wide Swat River on the left and hugs the cliffs to the right with their emerald mines. Overlooking the river were tourist restaurants with big glass windows we had never been to. On the road, we passed dusty-faced children, bent double with huge bundles of grass on their backs, and men leading flocks of shaggy goats that wandered hither and thither. As we drove on, the landscape changed to paddy fields of deep lush green that smelled so fresh, and orchards of apricot and fig trees. Occasionally, we passed small marble works over streams which run milky white with the discharge of chemicals. This made my father cross. "Look at what these criminals are doing to pollute our beautiful valley," he always said. The road left the river and wound up through narrow passes over steep fir-clad heights, higher and higher, until our ears popped. On top of some of the peaks were ruins where vultures circled, the remains of forts built by the first Wally. The boss below strained and labored, the driver cursing as track overtook us on blind beds with steep drops below. My brothers loved this, and they would taunt me and my mother by pointing out the wreckage of vehicles at the mountainside. Finally, we made it up onto the sky turn, the gateway to Shangla Top, a mountain pass which feels as if it's on the top of the world. Up there, we were higher than the rocky peaks all around us. In the far distance, we could see the snows of Malam Java, our ski resort. By the roadside were fresh springs and waterfalls, and when we stopped for a break and to drink some tea, the air was clean and fragrant with cedar and pine. We breathed it in into our lungs greedily. Shangla is all mountain, 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 and just a small sky. After this road winds back down for a while, then follows the Gorban River and peters out into a rocky track. The only way to cross the river is by rope bridges or on a pulley system by which people swing themselves across in a metal box. Foreigners call them suicide bridges, but we love them. If you look at a map of Swat, you will see it as one long valley with little valleys we call Daray, the Kanadara, off to the sides like the branches of tree. Our village lies about halfway along the east, which is enclosed by craggy mountain walls and so narrow there is not even room for a cricket ground. We call our village Shapur, but really there is a necklace of three villages along the bottom of the valley. Shapur, the biggest, Barkana, where my father grew up, and Karshat, which is where my mother lived. At either end is a huge mountain, Torgar, the black mountain to the south, and Spingar, the white mountain, to the north. We usually stayed in Barkana, at my grandfather's house, where my father grew up. Like almost all the houses in the area, it was flat-roofed and made of stone and mud. I preferred staying in Karshat with my cousins on my maternal side, because they had a concrete house with a bathroom and there were lots of children to play with. My mother and I stayed in the women's quarters downstairs. The women spent their days looking after the children and preparing food to serve the women in the quarters upstairs. I slept with my cousins, Anisa and Sambul, in a room which had a clock in the shape of a mosque and a cabinet on the wall containing a rifle and some packets of hair dye. In the village, the day started early, and even I, who liked to sleep late, woke with the sound of cocks crowing and the clatter of dishes as the women prepared breakfast for the men. In the morning, the sun reflected off the top of the Goragar. We got up for the Fajr prayers, the first of our 5 daily prayers. We would look left and see the golden peak of Spingar lit with the first rays of the sun, with a white lady wearing a jumartika, a gold chain on her forehead. Often rain would then come. People grew radishes and walnut trees. Dotted around were hives of bees. I loved the gloopy honey, which we ate with walnuts. Down on the river, at the Karshad end, were water buffaloes, wet